Urgent Commanders fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Commanders news. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Commanders get major. Update on new stadium deal when owner Josh Harris took over the Washington Commanders. One of his overarching goals was to reshape the image of the franchise. That goal was met with three major areas for cleanup. First, leadership. Changes were long overdue, with the Dan Snyder years leaving a stain on the franchise after a number of scandals and mishaps. Harris' installment as the team's new owner has helped with that makeover. The next phase came in a reset of the team. Snyder brought in Dan Quinn as his head coach, and last year's selection of quarterback Jayden Daniels helped the team to heights they had not reached in decades. Washington reached the NFC Championship, and with Daniels so young in his career, are viewed as a contender across the league for the coming years. The final image change is one that will undeniably take a longer process than the first two, but Wednesday the Commanders broke through with some major progress on a new stadium. DC is closing in on a $3 billion deal to bring the Commanders back to the district, per Mark Seagraves of News 4 in Washington. The new stadium would be at the old RFK Stadium site. Nothing is final, with negotiations still ongoing, but multiple sources have indicated that Mayor Muriel Bowser and the franchise have a framework for a deal that would have the Commanders paying the majority share of the costs for the stadium. According to documents maintained by News 4, that number from the team side could be up to $5 billion. The deal would call for the stadium and parking to be done by 2030, the same timeline that Harris has campaigned for in past discussions. The Commanders currently call the dilapidated Northwest Stadium home. That stadium is 5 miles east of D.C. If the agreement becomes official, the Commanders not only move closer to the capital, but also get a much-needed home field uplift down the line. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Commanders news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks! Now let's get back to the news. Blockbuster trade prediction sees Commanders flip 2 picks for NFL sack King Reed Moore at https://www.fresnob. ComSports article 3043373001. HTML story link CP. The Washington Commanders turned around what was a languishing franchise in just a year's time, most significantly due to the drafting of QB Jayden Daniels #2 overall in 2024. Now, with the 2025 draft less than a week and a half away, the team is potentially poised to make another monster April edition. Only this time, it would come via the trade market. Mo Moton of Bleacher Report authored a blockbuster trade prediction on Sunday, April 13th, in which the Commander flipped their second-round pick in this year's draft, number 61 overall, and a fifth-rounder in 2026 to the Cincinnati Bengals for elite edge rusher Trey Hendrickson, and a sixth-rounder in this year's draft, number 193 overall. The Bengals may take an edge rusher with the number 17 pick in the upcoming draft. If that happens, Cincinnati could make phone calls right after its first-round pick. Moton wrote, Cincinnati should call the Washington Commanders. The Commanders lost their 2024 sack leader, Dante Fowler Jr., who went back to the Dallas Cowboys in free agency. Washington's top remaining edge rushers, Dorrance Armstrong and Clelin Ferrell, combined for 5 sacks last year, a late second-rounder. And the equivalent of a sixth-round, fifth-round pick swap across 2 drafts is a far cry from the high price the Bengals were asking fellow NFL teams that inquired about Hendrickson's availability over the past several weeks. That said, Cincinnati is heavily invested in QB Joe Burrow and its top 2 wide receivers, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Moton pointed out that the team has the salary cap space necessary to resign Hendrickson, but negotiations have been rocky to this point. Beyond that, Hendrickson will play next season at 31 years old. He led the league with 5 sacks last year after producing the same figure in 2023. So while there is reason to believe that Hendrickson can still be a dominant edge rusher over the next few campaigns, which is why he makes sense for the Commanders, paying him huge is a risk for Cincinnati with so much money tied up in the offense and so many other defensive deficiencies to address. Commanders Jayden Daniels, labeled Sustainable Star Jayden Daniels, had one of the greatest rookie seasons in NFL history last year with the Washington Commanders, being one of just 6 signal callers to lead their team to the conference championship. Games showed that Daniels' success was unlike any before. The big question now is if it can be sustainable. Of all the previous 5 quarterbacks to lead the team to the conference title in their first year, only 3 have returned the following season, with 2 of them reaching the Super Bowl. While many analysts are waiting to see what Daniels can do as an encore, many of the top head coaches in the game are speaking out in defense of the young signal caller, and that includes a Super Bowl winning coach in Sean McVay. The way he was playing the position, it sure looks sustainable, McVay told John Keim of ESPN. He has that swagger, that confidence, that enjoyment with competing, the smile, the ability to be totally immersed in the moment. That's one of the things I loved about watching him. I don't see that changing. He's going to be really scary for a long time. If the Commanders are going to find a way to be sustainable as an organization, they will need to find a way to keep Daniels upright as a quarterback. They brought in Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil to help with that, with another Adiaton in wideout, Deebo Samuel. The Commanders believe they have the offensive firepower necessary to keep their team in contention moving forward. In a way, Daniels may be sophomore slump-proof with how the organization has added talent around him. DL draft visits Stewart. Eze Ruwaku, Pierce, Nolan, Texas, AM defensive lineman Shamar Stewart has visited several teams ahead of next week's draft, in which he is expected to be selected in the first round. Stewart started on the East Coast, visiting the Patriots last Thursday, per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, before traveling to Pittsburgh on Friday, per Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Stewart then visited the Bills on Saturday and the Bears on Monday via Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network ahead of his final pre-draft visit to San Francisco today via NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. The flurry of visits make it clear that Stewart is likely to be a first-round pick and may even break into the top 10. His 6'5", 267-pound frame offers elite athleticism, as evidenced by his superb testing numbers at the NFL Combine. However, he struggled to translate that into production in college with just 4.5 sacks and 12 tackles for loss across his last 3 seasons in College Station. Teams will have to weight Stewart's untapped physical potential with his need to develop his pass rush moves, play recognition, and overall technique that may limit his instant impact in the NFL. Florida State edge rusher Donovan Eziruaku has also met with a number of teams as he pushes for a first-round draft billing. He visited the Panthers last week, and on Monday he went to the Commanders facility in Ashburn, Virginia. According to SB Nation's Ken Johannesson, Eziruaku didn't reach the same eye-popping testing numbers as Stewart, but he does bring a refined array of pass rush moves that helped him rack up 16.5 sacks in 2024. Like Stewart, Tennessee edge rusher James Pierce is visiting the 49ers today, according to Rappaport. He already visited the Bengals, Cardinals, Colts, Cowboys, Falcons, and Saints, suggesting that a dip in his public draft stock may not reflect his value to NFL teams. Pierce led the SEC with 10.0 sacks in 2023, but took a slight step back in 2024, which moved his projected draft slot later in the first round. Georgia defensive tackle Walter Nolan added the Cardinals and the Packers to a list of visits that already included the Bengals, Cowboys, 49ers, and Panthers. He visited Arizona on April 7, according to Rappaport, and completed a trip to Green Bay earlier this week. Per Matt Schneidman of The Athletic, Nolan is believed to have a wide range of evaluations across the league, so teams like the Bengals, Cardinals, and Packers may view him as a mid to late first-round pick, while the Cowboys, 49ers, and Panthers may be hoping he falls to their selections early in the second round. Pro Football Rumors 2025 NFL Mock Draft. The pool of prospects available for teams later this month delivers an interesting challenge for anyone making a mock draft. This year's crop of players has been viewed as far more deep than it is top-heavy, with only 15-20 players receiving first-round grades in most scouting departments. Because of this, we're left with a fun uncertainty in which any of several players with second to third-round grades could hear their names called throughout the back half of the first round. Here, we'll make an attempt to identify the best prospects for each team in their draft slot and with their position needs, because we're in a rare and fun scenario at the moment in which every team holds its own first round pick. For the first time in a long, long time, we will not be predicting any in-draft trades. But you can read here about the possibilities for such trades happening at the tail end of the first round. Commanders inching closer to Josh Harris' monumental homecoming dream. Things are progressing regarding a new stadium. Josh Harris grew up watching his beloved Washington team at RFK Stadium. It started a lifelong love story that eventually resulted in the hometown hero wresting the franchise from Dan Snyder's grasp. And now, his dream to return the Washington Commanders to their rightful home is inching closer. A bombshell report from Mark Seagraves from News 4 revealed that discussions are advancing around a $3 billion agreement to bring the Commanders back to D. What, C? This is scheduled to be no later than 2030 and will involve a new stadium at the RFK site. Negotiations are still ongoing, but this is the most notable development since Harris's ownership group began planning for the future. The framework of the deal is firmly in place, which is often the most difficult part, and the financial implications have the scope to make this go as smoothly as possible. Seagraves revealed that Harris and the Commanders are agreeing to stump up as much as $2.5 billion. This would cover the vast majority of the stadium construction. The rest of the cash, which will be provided by the city up to $850 million, will be utilized to support the infrastructure of the 180-acre site. Commanders owner Josh Harris wants a new stadium by 2030 at the latest. This is Harris' ambition coming to life, not for the first time under his ownership. It's something Washington loyalists have craved for decades, and the pieces are slowly falling into place. RFK Stadium was the emotional heartbeat of Washington football during some of the greatest moments in franchise history. Not many have fond memories of the last 2 decades elsewhere, but with the team and fan base galvanized, this seems like a fantastic time to go back to their roots. Harris has been adamant about a new stadium being ready for 2030. He wasn't sure where that would be, but the goal remained the same. Now it seems like the emotional favorite to host, the site is the legitimate frontrunner. Things should become clearer in the not-too-distant future. If this deal is in the process of getting rubber-stamped, details would need to be in the 2026 budget. Commanders fans will be taking a keen interest in that, for more reasons than one. This is an exciting time for everyone associated with the Commanders. Nothing is set in stone just yet, but all signs point to the new stadium being in the nation's capital, barring a drastic setback. When or if the news becomes official, emotions will be running high among those who've got such special memories of the place where Washington became an NFL powerhouse. Harris is among them. There's no place like home. And now, Commanders fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot. For Commanders, he'll be back any moment with more Commanders news. We want Dallas.